Hi, everyone, and a pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. I am Tony Abatey back at the Tiger Dome here this evening as we are getting set to bring you Fort Scott Lady Tiger volleyball here on senior night this evening. Fort Scott is about ready to take on the Paola Lady Panthers in this match here tonight. Trying to rebound from a couple of tough losses back on Tuesday. Fort Scott lost to Chanute in 2 sets, lost to Pittsburgh in 3 sets back on Tuesday. But looking forward to this one here this evening. See if Fort Scott can get back in the win column. Looks like the Lady Tigers will be on the near side, the near court here first. As we are just about ready to get things underway tonight. It is senior night, as we mentioned, a nice ceremony about 20 minutes ago for Sydney Pruitt, Raven Kegler, Keegan Yarrick, Eden Hott, and Briley Schaub. All seniors on this team this season. Looking forward to their final home match of the season. Sub-State is next Saturday. We do not have brackets yet for that, as that information will come out later on next week. Fort Scott does have one more match after this, or one more night of matches after this. They'll go to Independence on Tuesday next week to face the Lady Bulldogs in Coffeyville. It looks like Fort Scott going to start with Schaub, Kylie Comstock, and Raven Kegler on the front row. The back row tonight looks like Eden Hott, Keegan Yarrick, and Sydney Pruitt to start things off this evening for the Lady Tigers. The libero, as always, is Hadley Forrester, but she starts on the bench here this evening. First early serve here by Paola. Fort Scott able to get the point. Quick start for the Lady Tigers. In off the bench is Dakota Hazelbaker. She'll go back to serve for Fort Scott. She replaces Schaub. Nice ace that time by Hazelbaker. Dakota went right where there weren't any Panthers. Nice dig right up into the roof there. Paola able to get it over the net. Fort Scott able to return. Long shot that time. Looked like it might have been going out, but Paola played it anyway. Off of the basketball goal, and it's going to go out of bounds. So 3 straight points for Fort Scott to start this one here tonight. Back to serve again is Dakota. Paola trying to get their first points of nice job by Raven to get it back across the net. That one hits the net and does not go over, so that'll be a 4 contact and a violation with point and serve back to Fort Scott. 4-0 Tigers early on here in set number 1. Again, we play best 2 out of 3 in the sets as Paola gets their first point of this opening frame tonight. Best 2 out of 3, and first 1 to 25 winning by 2. So Forrester into the lineup on the back row this time for Fort Scott. Get it over to Comstock. Now back around it comes to the near side, and that one catches the line. So 2 quick points for Paola after Fort Scott started 4-0. Abby Ediger, I believe, is the one serving for Paola right now. Gets a dig from the back row. They'll set up the near side. Nice block by Fort Scott, but it landed on the Tigers' side of the court. So they set one up very well, but just couldn't get it back across the net. Nice dig by the Tigers. They'll work it to the far side. It's blocked at the net, but kept alive by Fort Scott. They'll come back to the middle and get it across the net. Now back around to Paola. That one's off of one of the back row players for Fort Scott. So 4 straight points to start things for the Lady Tigers. Are matched with 4 straight points from Paola. Raven sets the far side there. Nice job by Fort Scott, or by Paola, to keep it alive. Long dig that time, but they go right back to the far side. A little drop shot that time from Stewart, and that one will fall. So Avery Stewart picks up the kill for Fort Scott, gets them back on top at 5-4. Kylie Comstock back to serve for the Tigers. Leading this opening frame 5-4. That one swung wide. It did not touch a Lady Tiger. Comstock to serve again. Set them. Nice block by Fort Scott. Keegan got her hands on it that time. Paola able to keep it alive. It hit the net and stayed on Paola's side. So 4 contact foul on Paola. So again, Fort Scott 4 straight points to start. Paola came back with 4 straight points of their own. Now 3 straight for the Tigers. They lead at 7-4. Go far side with it. Nice swing, but a little bit long that time from Stewart. Goes a bit out of bounds. Brylan Wicker serving for Paola. They get it to Keegan. She tried to find that back corner but couldn't keep it in bounds. Nice swing, nice idea that time by Yarick. Long dig that time for Comstock. Now they get it back around. Fort Scott able to keep it alive. They'll come to the near side. And an angle that we saw a little bit from Pittsburgh, not quite as extreme as Pittsburgh used it the other night, but still a pretty hard angle at times to corral. And Paola gets the point to tie this set back up 7-all. Again, the varsity and the freshman, or the JV and the freshmen played earlier tonight. Those matches started at 5 here in the Tiger Dome. We had the senior night festivities, a warm-up, and now the varsity match is all on its own here this evening. Nice job for Fort Scott to keep it alive. Paola will come back to the near side. Kylie tried to play it and couldn't get all the way around it for a proper dig that time. And another point for Paola. And they're going to give a lot. Looks like a net violation on Paola. So point and serve back to the Tigers. Kegler to serve this time. Paola will come back near. Oh, off the Tiger block and into the antenna. So tough luck for the Lady Tigers that time. Point goes back over to the Panthers. And they're going to get a lift call on Fort Scott this time. So more points to the Panthers. After Fort Scott started 4-0 here, and then 7-4. Paola has come back. Another block by the Panthers, and they will get more points here. So 12-8 now. Paola on top, and looks like Fort Scott's going to call timeout. So the Lady Tigers will take their first timeout. Of this opening frame. Give us a chance to thank some of our sponsors here tonight. H2 Painting LLC, the right way the first time. Look them up on Facebook at facebook.com/H2PaintingSCK or call them at 620-605-2769. Back and ready to get back in action here. Paola serving once again. Fort Scott, Kegler. Nice little drop shot that time, but it's kept alive by Paola, and they will find the back corner. Fort Scott thought that was going to go out. Looked like it might, but it did not. So 13-8 here in set number one. Paola with the lead. They got the ball to Keegan, but it's blocked rather soundly there by Paola on the front line. So all of a sudden it's 14-8 in favor of the Panthers here in the first set. Short serve that time, but it's dug by the Tigers. They'll get it back across to Paola. They'll come try to set a block up near side, and that'll go out of bounds off of Fort Scott. 15-8. Paola starting to cruise a little bit here in the opening frame. Nice dig by the Tigers. They'll get it over far side. That one may have been going out. Paola played it. They'll work it back to the near side. Fort Scott's got to recover. Can they get it across the net? It's short, but they do. And then it's blocked at the net. Paola got it across. 16-8 now. Panthers on a 12-1 run here in the middle portion, and now it's 13-1. That block was a great block. It was set up well, but they just didn't get it back across the net to the Fort Scott Lady Tigers. So 17-8. Again, a 13-1 run right now for Paola. Block at the net for the Panthers. Keegan says, you know what? I'm just going to hit it as hard as I can and see if Paola can block it this time. And they got the block up there but couldn't keep it true. Near side it comes. Nice dig by the Tigers. They'll work it to the near side. Right into the block that time, but it's kept alive by Paola. Now they'll go far side. Nice swing, but it's kept. My goodness, they just keep it alive. Those back row players for Paola just don't have a way to give up. But neither does Keegan Yarick, as she'll get the point there for the Lady Tigers. I believe that was Abby Ediger on the back row that time, diving to her right and put enough spin on the ball to keep it from going wildly out of bounds. Got it back in play, and Paola kept the rally alive. Now this one hits the net. So Fort Scott gets another point here. Trying to get back into this one, trailing at 17-11. And they're going to get a lift call this time on Paola. Fort Scott back to within 5. Avery Stewart serving again. Served this time a little bit too wide. Trying to get a good angle that time and couldn't keep it on the line that time. Come near side. Oh, nice little shot that time by Keegan Yarrick. Paola was setting up the block, so instead she went just over the block, tapped it up, little tap shot, and it goes in. Paola comes back near side. They try the same thing, and it works just as well as it did for the Lady Tigers. 19-13. Paola on top here in set number 1. Long dig that time. Fort Scott able to keep it alive, though. They get it across the net with Dakota. Nice block by Comstock, and nobody there to return it for Paola. Back to a 5-point deficit here in this first set. Forrester back to serve. And another nice job by Kylie on the front row. Instead of going right back in the defense's face, she went to the side a little bit. And Paola couldn't get to it. Back near side it comes. Oh, that was blocked. It looked like blocked off the antenna by Fort Scott. So that'll be 20 points now for Paola, 20-15. They lead here in the first set. Nice dig. They'll come back to the near side, or the middle rather. Now back over to the far side for Fort Scott. Dug again by the Panthers. They'll come near side. That one's off the net. Yeah, that one hit the net, I think. That's what the official calls. Paola thought that was blocked out of bounds by Fort Scott, but sure looked like it hit the net and bounced backwards. So Fort Scott's going to get the benefit of that. Served by Hazel Baker. Paola tries to find the back line, but can't do it. It's a little bit too long. Fort Scott back to within 3 here. And now Paola's going to call their first timeout. Each team gets 2 per set. And Paola will call their first one here. So out of the timeout, Fort Scott will serve here. Hazel Baker doing the honors. Get it over to Stewart. Dug by Paola. They'll come back near side. Nice job to keep it alive for Fort Scott. They'll go to the far side, and oh, just a little bit wide. Flag official on that sideline said it was out. The up ref agreed with her. Fort Scott, got to keep it alive, but can't quite do that. Go back 22 now, 22-17. Paola right out of the timeout. Has changed the course of momentum, at least for the moment. Back over to Keegan. She'll attack from the back row. That one's caught up on the basketball goal, but Paola able to stick with it. Almost went through the net. Wonder if you get an additional 2 points for that. Fort Scott able to keep it alive. A long swing, but it's dug by Paola. Come back, they'll get it over the net. Back over to Comstock for the corner. And I think that was wide again. It was. So 23-17. A couple close ones that have gone against the Tigers here late in this first set. They trail 23-17. And that one's blocked. Almost looked like Kylie. The pass and the jump from the pass from Raven and the jump from Kylie were not quite on the same wavelength that time. And now we've got set point here for Paola at 24-17. And they will get a quick ace and win this first set 25-17. So we're just about to get things ready here for the second set tonight. Again, Fort Scott's going to have to win this one to force a third one. So Fort Scott will serve here to open up set number 2. It's Hazel Baker serving back there for Fort Scott. Nice block by the Lady Tigers, but it just does go wide. So quick start for Paola. That time, Paola couldn't quite get the return on it. Nice job by Keegan. Long dig that time by Paola, and Keegan able to find it and direct it straight down on the Paola side of the court. Fort Scott takes the lead 2-1. Another angle swing that time from the Panthers. Sure, you don't want to commit too hard to defending that angle because then you leave a better shot more open. But Fort Scott saw that from Pittsburgh the other night, seeing it again from Paola here this evening, and it's really thrown some curves at the Tigers both times. Fort Scott does get the point there, so it's 3-2 now, Tigers. Kegler back to serve again. Far side off the block that time. Fort Scott able to keep it alive. And this one, nice job. Fort Scott able to survive again, keep the rally going. Paola goes far corner. It's Doug Long keeping it going for Fort Scott. This one's got to go over. It does. Can they keep it alive again? It's still going. Long rally here tonight. Fort Scott leaving it out all on the court right now. Nice job. Paola will go far side. A little dump shot, but it's picked by Fort Scott. Over to Keegan. Block there. Into the net it goes. Paola able to keep it alive. Do not see rallies like this in volleyball very often. Paola's going to come away with the point. Now we'll tie this second set up at 3-all. Tough luck for the Lady Tigers, but they got to pull some momentum from that, and they get a quick point right here from Keegan Yarick. I'll tell you what, she can jump about as high as anybody for the Lady Tigers. And when you put it in the right spot, she can direct it straight down on the other side of the court. It's very difficult to receive that if you're the opposing team. Nice swing, that time by Hazelbaker on the near side. Fort Scott back up by 2 at 5-3. And that time it landed on Fort Scott's side of the court. Tough luck for the Lady Tigers. Kegler finds Keegan, and that one's in there. Oh, serve near side. Keegan tried to put a little extra English on it and went a little bit too far. So 6-5. Fort Scott still leading, but Paola now serving again. Tough. There's a return error that time on the Lady Tigers. Will tie things up. Be a little bit more spin than Fort Scott anticipated from Paola, and they did it again. Nice dump shot. The work back to the near side. Paola keeps it alive. Now Fort Scott comes back to the near side. A little awkward shot there, but it is kept going by Paola. Comstock gets it over the net for Fort Scott, and then Paola swings it, but swings it too long. Fort Scott will tie this second set. Again, the first set went 25-17 to Paola. They went on a 13-1 run in the middle of that set. It really put some distance between them and the Lady Tigers. And that one is too long again to Fort Scott. Looking like they're going to set a block. Paola trying to hit off the block, and then they pull that block back. And the shot goes long 2 times in a row there. The Lady Tigers back on top in set number 2. And they're going to call a lift that time. That was a really quick call from the official, but we'll take it. This time a drop shot by the setter for Paola, but Fort Scott responds. Now they find the far side and the empty part of the court. So that'll get it back to 9-8. Fort Scott leading here in set 2. Paola serving again, though. Looked like Paola was over the net, but they don't call it. Fort Scott able to rebound from it. Paola, they'll work it across the net. Back to Raven at the net. She'll come far side, or near side rather. That one's off of Paola and a couple of things in the roof. And point for Fort Scott. So they get to 10 points here. It's now 10-8. Nice dig on the back row for Paola. Back over to Fort Scott. We'll come to Stewart on the near side. She'll get it over the net. Now back around to the far side for Paola. Great dig by Keegan. They'll come to Stewart. Paola comes back again to the front, and that one is in. Nice job by Fort Scott. That was Kylie Comstock who found the line. Paola comes back. Fort Scott got a little thin right up at the net that time. Over to Kegler, back over, and now it's over the net. Fort Scott continuing to fight. Got to keep this one alive. They'll come back over to Keegan. She'll get it, try to find the back corner. Paola asking for a double contact. It wasn't called. Now back to the near side to Stewart. Off the block it goes. Now it goes and is in there for Paola. And another block there for the Panthers, and that'll tie this set up again. 11-all here in set number 2. Back over far side, and they'll find the sideline again. So 3 straight points now for the Panthers. They go back on top, 12-11. Get it back to Keegan. Back around far side. Nice dig by Keegan, and some miscommunication there for the Lady Tigers. Didn't know who was going to come get that one. That one may be the easiest point of the night for the Panthers. Blocked at the net. Fort Scott can't keep it alive. And the Lady Tigers are going to take a timeout. (14-13). Here in set number 2. Joey Fritter is a loan officer with Open Mortgage. Open Mortgage is a multi-channel mortgage lender, believing that better is possible, constantly striving to bring a better mortgage experience to everyone. Joey can assist you when buying a home from start to finish. Her office is located at 1 East Wall Street in Fort Scott. Call today to get pre-qualified for a home loan at 620-644-8146. State Farm agent Cale Nelson is your local agent. For home and auto, contact Cale for a quote. Visit Cale's website at calenelson.com or give Cale a call at 620-223-2828. Back in action here at the Tiger Dome. Thanks again for joining us on Duckbait TV this evening. Fort Scott Lady Tigers trying to get back in this match after losing the first set 25-17, trailing here in the second 14-11, although they've led for most of this second set tonight. Try to keep this rally alive on their side of the court. Nice job, and they're going to get a lift call. It's going to look like it was going to fall in bounds anyways on Paola's side of the court. Looked like it was going to be a Fort Scott point either way, but they get it on the violation. Oh, and a nice serve that time by Hadley Forrester. Paola thought it was going to go a little bit long, backed off of it, and it found spot right in between the red basketball sideline and the black line that denotes the inline for volleyball here in the Tiger Dome. And another point for Keegan Yarrick, another kill for Keegan Yarrick. And we're tied again, 14-all here in set 2. So after that timeout, I mentioned this the other night, probably every time I've done a volleyball game, timeouts in volleyball seem to shift the momentum more than any other sport I've ever had the pleasure of calling, and that's been the case here tonight. Paola will try to keep it alive. They do. Get it back across to Fort Scott. Now they'll come back to Keegan, who smacks it home. 15-14. Fort Scott back on top here in set number 2. Lady Tigers are not quite ready to end their senior season here at home, their final home match tonight. Oh, that one off of the face maybe of one of the Paola players. Looks like she's okay, but a resounding kill for Fort Scott, and Paola's going to take a timeout here in set 2. Their first one of the frame. Highway 3 has modern, personalized fleece name blankets along with fun and unique personalized gifts. You can also now find Highway 3 products at several retail stores in the area. For more information, follow their Facebook page at facebook.com/shophighway3 or check out their website, shophighway3.com. 16-14, Fort Scott with the lead here in set number 2 as we come out of the timeout. Lady Tigers and Hadley Forrester will be serving. And that one right through the hands of a couple of Lady Tigers there, and the point goes back to the Panthers. Well, again, Fort Scott calling a timeout. They scored, 4 or 5 straight points. Paola comes out of their timeout and get the very next point themselves. Nice dig by Paola. They'll go far side, and they'll get that one, as Forrester couldn't quite get all the way around that one on the back row. We're tied at 16 now in set number 2. Figured this would be a barn burner, and it's been that way tonight for the Lady Tigers. Nice kill again for Keegan Yarrick. Kegler with the serve. Paola will go far side with it, and out look. Oh, was it touched by Fort Scott? No, they say it hit. Maybe they said it was in. Either way, the point goes to Paola. That was one that was up the far sideline, very close to being in or out. And they give the point to Paola. It was in. It wouldn't matter whether Fort Scott touched it. And I think that's what they called. Here's another point for the Lady Tigers. They go back to Keegan Yarrick. As long as she is on the front row, she'll be there through 3 turns through the rotation, of course. They have been able to get some very quick points with her on that front row. Oh, Fort Scott, they're going to get a lift on that one. Either way, no matter what they would have called, Fort Scott was going to have trouble getting over on the 3rd try that time. So tied again, 18-all here. Long dig that time, but Fort Scott able to play it. Blocked again. Now back over to Keegan. She'll find the empty court and makes it count. 19-18, Fort Scott on top here in set number 2. Keegan will go back to serve now. And back in the match will be Kylie Comstock. She'll be back on the front row for the Lady Tigers, playing that middle block position. Tries to throw up a block, and it was maybe deflected partially. Raven was able to play it, but then it hit part of the roof and kind of came down at a weird angle for the Lady Tigers. Sometimes even this being your home arena, sometimes you just can't play off of those roof, I don't know, the hanging things coming from the roof, whatever they call those things. Nice dig by Fort Scott. Keep it around to Comstock off the block. It's kept alive. One thing with Paola, if they can't block it outright, it usually goes up off of their blocks instead of down, which means somebody from the back row is usually there to be able to play it, but it doesn't work that way that time for Paola, as Fort Scott is the first one to 20 at 20-19. So Shaw back to serve, another one of the seniors for Fort Scott. So we'll serve the middle of the court. Now they get it back over far side. Blocked and off of Paola, and it will be another point for Fort Scott. The Lady Tigers took Pittsburgh to 3 sets on Tuesday. After losing the first set, came back to win the second one. Unfortunately for Fort Scott, they could not win the third set to win the match, but looking to hopefully force a third set here tonight after losing the first one. That one is off the net, so back to Paola, 21-20. Forrester back into the match, the libero for the Lady Tigers, back in for Briley Schaub. Job by Comstock at the front of the net. Now one is swung wide, and point goes back to the Lady Tigers. 3 points away from forcing a third and deciding set here in this one tonight. Oh, and that'll be a lift, I believe, on Fort Scott. Yeah, that's tough luck. Fort Scott trying to keep it going, but point goes back over to Paola. Oh, and Kylie with a great idea that time. They've been going to the middle, trying to, that time, kind of brush it to the side, but it didn't get all the way over the net. Now blocked by Paola. Now Fort Scott may have to use their second timeout as the Panthers retake the lead, and they are at 23 points. 23-22. Fort Scott desperately needs a side out here. Nice block, but it's dug by Paola. Kept alive by the Panthers. Back over, near side. They get it to Stewart. She'll go to the corner, but it's dug again by the Panthers. Ediger again with a nice dig that time. She'll keep it alive again for Paola. Every time it looks like Fort Scott's going to come away with the point, and that one will go to Fort Scott. Set up the block but couldn't close it off completely. And the Tigers are back to a 23-23 tie here in set number 2. Blocked again. This time by Yarrick, and it's set point for Fort Scott. Forrester will do the serving. Can Fort Scott finish this one off and force a third set? Go far side. It's job by Forrester. Back around it comes. Off the block, and a point goes to Paola. So we're going to get some extra volleyball here tonight. Again, it's the first one to 25, but you got to win by 2. So now the first one to 25 will have the first opportunity to be the first one to 26 to win this set. Far side for Paola. Dug back by Fort Scott. Forrester, can't quite find the line, and it'll be match point now for Paola, and Fort Scott will finally use their second and final timeout of this second set. Edward Jones has been advising customers in the world of finance for over 100 years. Financial advisor Jamie Armstrong continues that tradition in Fort Scott. Contact Jamie by phone at 620-223-1866 or email Jamie at jamie.armstrong@edwardjones.com. So match point here for Paola coming out of the timeout. Nice dig by Fort Scott. They'll come back to Keegan, and she will get the point there for Fort Scott. So 25 all now, and Raven Kegler will serve. Nice dig by the Tigers. Get it back over to Keegan. Can't quite finish off the kill that time. Paola back to the back row. Fort Scott will work it back to Keegan at the front, but it's dug again by the Panthers. They'll go back far side. Nice swing. Oh, and they're going to be just in on that back row. So another match point for Paola as they lead at 26-25. Substitution is Kaylee Crawford will come in to serve for the Panthers. Match point number 2 for Paola. Keegan with the dig. She'll get it over the net. Tried to put up a block. Dug by Fort Scott. Kegler finds the back corner, but it's dug by Paola. Nice block by the Tigers. Back to Paola, and now hits the net. So Fort Scott just won't go away, and that's a great thing to see. We'll see if the Lady Tigers can get the upper hand, get another set point. They've had one and couldn't close the deal. Stewart serving this time. Come near side with it. Off the block of Paola. Kept alive. They'll get it over the net. Back to Keegan. Far side it goes. Blocked by Fort Scott, but Paola right there. Keegan tripped a little bit, but stayed alive. And Paola's going to get the point anyway. So match point number 3 for the Panthers. 27-26. Paola with the lead here. Nice. From Yarek on the far side. We're tied again. 27 all here in set 2, and now Keegan will go back to serve. Can she get an ace? And it will go down as an ace. A return error that time for Paola, and now it's set point for the Tigers, 28-27. And that one served into the net, so we're tied again, 28 all. Now it's going to be the first one to 30. Nice dig by Fort Scott. They'll come near side to Comstock. It's dug again by Paola, though. They'll go back over far side. Come near side to Stewart, I believe, again. Kept alive by Fort Scott. Now they'll come back again. There's Stewart. It's Hazelbaker before. That one slung, and it's in there for the Panthers. And it'll be match point number 4, I believe. Not keeping great tallies of that, but don't usually have that many in a volleyball match. 29-28. Panthers with the lead here in set number 2. Long dig by the Tigers. Paola able to get underneath it, and there we go. Believe they called it officially a net violation, but either way, the ball did fall on Fort Scott's side of the court, and the Panthers win in set number 2, 30-28, and take this one in 2 sets tonight. Well, it appears that we are still playing here tonight. So we'll try to get the scoreboard reset here as Paola will get the first. I thought we were doing best 2 out of 3. Must be best 3 out of 5 tonight. Paola with the early lead here in set number 3. And it'll be 2-0 quickly here in set 3. Now it's 3-0. Block at the net, but it finds the open court. And it's quickly 4-0 here in set 3. And they're going to get a lift call on the Lady Tigers. I'm going to call quick timeout here in set number 3. So after all of the energy that they put forth in set 2, ended up losing 30-28. Had a little bit of a sluggish start here to set 3. Again, to apologize. I was assuming that this would be just like the league matches that we've done. Of course, you have 2 matches a night on those nights. So not overly surprised that they would have a longer match tonight because you're only getting 1 match out of it. That one served into the net there for Paola, so Fort Scott will get the point, their first one of set 3. And now their first serve of this frame. Paola will get it, or Fort Scott gets it over the net, and that one's long. So a couple of quick points for the Lady Tigers. See if they can get back in this set. Six to 2. Paola serving here again. Block at the net by the Panthers. We'll work it far side for Fort Scott. That one a little bit long, but they'll be able to corral it. Did it go off of Paola's hands? Look like it may have, but they say it did not. So 7 to 2. Fort Scott trails here in set number 3. One's long, so another point for the Panthers. And they are cruising here in set number 3. Scott tried to get a sub, couldn't quite get it quickly enough. Some miscommunication there on the back row. Off the block. Kept alive. Now they'll get it back over the net. Try to find that back corner, but Paola able to keep it alive themselves. Long swing that time. Dug by Fort Scott. They'll get it, try to get it back over, and can't quite get it done. 10 to 2. Paola on top here in set 3. One's off of, looked like it was off of Raven Kegler there. And another point for the Panthers. It's tough. But you put forth as much energy as Fort Scott did there in set number 2 and come out on the losing end of it. Sometimes it takes you a little while to get back in the swing of things, and that's what we're seeing from Fort Scott here in set number 3. 13 to 2. And now 14 to 2. Fort Scott desperately needs a side out here. Raven tried to get one herself that time. Blocked by Fort Scott, and they're going to get a lift call, it looks like. They have been very quick on those lift calls this evening, both ways. That one, unfortunately, goes against Eden Hott. She will sub out as Avery Stewart will come back on the court for Fort Scott. 15 to 2. Paola with the lead here in set 3. Kylie able to get it across the net. Now Paola has their turn. And Looked like Keegan couldn't quite get all the way around it that time herself, and it's now 16-2. Back over to Kylie, and that went into the net, it looked like there. Fort Scott's going to take their final timeout of this set, try to get some momentum going back in their side. As Paola leads this third set 17-2. They won the first one 25-17. Several set points for Fort Scott. Well, for both teams. The second set went back and forth. Finally, Paola was able to outlast Fort Scott 30-28 in that second set. But Fort Scott needs a momentum switch in a hurry as they trail set number 3, 17-2. Back in action, and Paola gets another point. They just continue to cruise here in this third frame. Another sub for Fort Scott as Sydney Pruitt will come on and replace Dakota Hazelbaker. Blocked at the net. Fort Scott finally gets a point, ends the run there for Paola. 18-3. Now, last I checked, there's not a 15-point play in the game of volleyball, so you're just going to have to bear down, put some points together, and try to get back in this third frame. Tough luck there for the Lady Tigers as they went off the block and down on their side of the court. So 19-3. Back over to Keegan. That one's blocked out of bounds by Paola. Raven back to serve, and that one's going to be dug out of bounds by Paola, so a couple of quick points for the Lady Tigers here. And again, like I said, just can't get them all back at once, so just concentrate. Put together good serves, good points. Unfortunately, that time it was a little bit wide, just a little bit by Raven. So the point goes back to the Panthers. 20-5 now, they lead it. That went into the net. And another point for Fort Scott. Another serve for Stewart. Go far side, dug by Raven. And it's out of bounds. It looked like the spin on the ball was a difficult thing there. Coach Kegler telling Raven maybe go with your hands up instead of the typical volleyball set. Or bump, I guess. Be the set instead of the bump. That one swung a little bit long that time from Pruitt. 22-7. Paola leads here in set 3. Paola comes near side off the block. Forrester got there, but nobody else could get to her to get the second contact. And now Paola 2 points away from winning this set. I'll steer clear of saying the match because I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to keep playing after this too or not. And that one, two players at the net, one for Fort Scott, one for Paola, both jumped, and neither one of them touched the ball, and it fell on the Panthers' side of the court. Near side it comes, off the block, out of bounds. And set point here for Paola again at 24-8. Side to Kylie. That one into the net. And this set is over, and the match is over as well, as Paola wins it 25-8. So a pretty quick third set there, but Fort Scott, again, gave some really good effort, especially in that second set. Took Paola all the way to 30 points to win the second frame 30-28. And again, as I mentioned, that second set went back and forth. Sometimes it's just really hard to regroup after that to get the momentum going back again in your favor. And it was tough there for Fort Scott as they end up losing the first set tonight, 25-17. The second, 30-28. And the third set, 25-8. Again, we've got some great sponsors that are helping us out this year on Duckbait TV here on YouTube.com. H2 Painting, LLC, the right way, the first time. Look them up on Facebook at facebook.com/H2PaintingSEK or call them at 620-605-2769. Joey Fritter is a loan officer with Open Mortgage. Open Mortgage is a multi-channel mortgage lender believing that better is possible. Constantly striving to bring a better mortgage experience to everyone, Joey can assist you when buying a home from start to finish. Her office is located at 1 East Wall Street here in Fort Scott. Call today to get pre-qualified for a home loan at 620-644-8146. State Farm agent Cale Nelson is your local agent for home and auto. Contact Cale for a quote. You can visit Cale's website at calenelson.com or give him a call at 620-223-2828. Highway 3 has modern personalized fleece name blankets along with fun and unique personalized gifts. You can also find Highway 3 products at several retail stores in the area. For more information, follow their Facebook page at facebook.com/shophighway3 or check out their website, shophighway3.com. Edward Jones has been advising customers in the world of finance for over 100 years. Financial advisor Jamie Armstrong continues that tradition in Fort Scott. Contact Jamie by phone at 620-223-1866 or email Jamie at jamie.armstrong@edwardjones.com. Chad Cousins is your local 1842 Wealth Management Financial Advisor. Contact Chad for more information by email at chad@1842wealth.com or call 620-215-9240. Liberty Savings has been in Fort Scott since 1919, helping community members with their banking needs for over 100 years. Visit them at 24 South Judson or call 620-223-0300. Well, a few things to update you on as we've got several things going on as the fall sports are beginning to wind down here for the Tigers and Lady Tigers. Big week this past week. Juniors Kinsley Brown and Cadence Hunziker, along with sophomores Abby Gorman and Briley Heimer, have qualified for the 4A girls state tennis meet this upcoming week. It actually starts tomorrow. Brown and Hunsiker will be the number 22 seed in doubles, and Heimer is the number 21 seed in singles, with Gorman taking the number 5 seed in singles. Competition is to begin tomorrow and will continue Saturday at the T.H. Vaughn Tennis Center in Winfield, just south of Wichita. Speaking of state, Lucy Duncanson qualified for the 4A state golf tournament with a personal record 103 at regionals in Chanute last week. The state tournament will be held in Salina at the Salina Municipal Golf Course next Monday and Tuesday. So congratulations to Kinsley, Cadence, Abby, Briley, and Lucy for making it to state in their respective sports. Soccer had a draw earlier this week with Independence. That was 2-2 back on Monday. And the varsity volleyball team, as we mentioned earlier, they lost 2-0 to Chanute back on Tuesday, and then 2-1 to Pittsburgh on Tuesday as well. So a couple of tough matches here for Fort Scott's volleyball team. Today, don't have results yet. Don't know the results just yet, but the cross-country team competed at the SEK League meet today out at Chanute, and hopefully they got some good results in that one. Of course, don't forget, tomorrow night is the senior night football game. Football game against Spring Hill. We'll have that one for you. The festivities are to begin right around 6:30. We will do everything that we can to try to have that for you on Duckbait TV, whether we have it on live or we have it on later on tomorrow night. But we will do everything we can to have that on there for you, as it's not just senior night for the football team, it's senior night for all of the athletes for Fort Scott. They will honor all of these senior athletes for Fort Scott tomorrow night in every activity in the fall. So the band kids, the cheerleaders, the dance teamers, they'll all be honored tomorrow night at the senior night festivities, including the football team and all the other athletes here in the fall. So again, don't miss that one. And it'll be a big game for the Fort Scott Tigers. Fort Scott comes into play tomorrow night, seated 9th in the 4A East standings. So if they can get a win over Spring Hill tomorrow night, that should bump them back over to the host side for the first round. So hopefully that means the top 8 will host a first-round game, and hopefully that means if Fort Scott can pull off a win tomorrow night, and they played about as well as they've played the last couple of seasons this past Friday against Chanute, and if they play that well again tomorrow night, they could win. There's no doubt about that. So Spring Hill is a tough team. There's no doubt about that either. But Fort Scott is going to put their best effort forward, and if they can pull off a win tomorrow night, of course, they should move back across into the top 8 to hopefully host a game, and then in the first round, and then we'll see what happens against Coffeyville next week. But again, don't forget, senior night tomorrow night against Spring Hill here at Frary Field. If you can't make it out to Frary Field, we will have the broadcast for you on Duckbait TV, so tune into that if you are not able to make it to Frary Field tomorrow night. I think that's all I got for you so far this evening. Again, a tough loss here for the Lady Tigers. They lose in 3 sets to Paola tonight. Lost the first set 25-17. Lose the second set 30-28. Really battled hard in that second set. Just couldn't pull it off, and then just kind of didn't have a lot left there in the third set, losing it 25-8 to Paola there. So tough one for Fort Scott, but they will regroup and they will go back on the court on Tuesday down in Independence. They will have their final regular season match in Independence, and those sub-state brackets for next weekend should come out middle of the week next week. So we'll see where Fort Scott is going to sub-state next weekend. Excuse me. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you. So anyway, thanks again for joining us here on Duckbait TV tonight. Again, a tough loss for the Fort Scott Lady Tigers, losing in 3 sets tonight to the Paola Panthers. For my dad tonight on the camera, Willie Abatey, and I am Tony Abatey. To all the Duckbaits out there, thanks for joining us for Fort Scott Tiger Volleyball here on Duckbait TV. Good night, Kansas.